Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3797, and today's date is December 16th, 2025. The title of the episode is Central Bank is Panicking, Their Illusion is Falling Apart, Trump is Reversing Their System. Now, as we wrap up 2025, it's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've all learned is that uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan, it's a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped Americans protect themselves and the people they love by diversifying their wealth with gold and silver. Look, no one knows what 2026 will bring, but one thing's for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth isn't digital. It's physical, it's lasting, and it's yours. So when you're sitting around the table this holiday season, surrounded by family, remember the best gift you can give isn't under the tree, it's peace of mind. And that's what Noble Gold delivers. Peace of mind, 1 ounce at a time. Before the year ends, take one smart step toward a safer future. Visit X22Gold.com and get your free wealth protection kit today. That's X22Gold.com. Don't leave your future to chance, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, you can see that Trump now is reversing everything that they have done, and he's destroying their illusion. And you have to remember, going all the way back, of course, to 1913, but if we just fast forward to 1971, when we came off the gold standard, they needed to create the illusion that the economy was always improving. The economy was doing much better than it actually was. And they had to convince you that there was really no inflation, that it's been steady at 2% since the very beginning. And they had to keep the illusion alive by convincing you that jobs were being created in the U.S., while jobs were being destroyed and shipped overseas, because that's exactly what has been happening. The private sector jobs have been declining. The governmental jobs have been increasing. This is how they convince you that everything is fine. Plus, when you look at the inflation calculation, they're just telling you the inflation for that period of time. They're not telling you this is the cumulative inflation. So again, it's another trick. And this is what they've done from the very, very beginning. But what Trump is doing right now, he's reversing everything that they have done, and he's removing the government jobs. He is now creating private sector jobs by bringing back manufacturers, bringing back corporations. And yes, the economy is going to go through a transitional period. Just like if you're changing anything, you go through a transitional period. But what we could see very, very clearly is that Trump now is putting another piece into place to prepare us for what is coming. And what is coming? Well, we're going to be going most likely back to the Constitution, back to the gold standard, and removing the private West Central Bank. Now, why do I say probably? Because again, this is a battle from the very beginning. You think the central bank wants to lose control? You think they want to say, hey, listen, yeah, I know we've been in business for, hundreds of years, but it's okay if you just remove us. It's not that big of a deal. We just won't be able to enslave the country and the people, and we just won't be able to create corruption in the government, but it's okay. You can remove us. No, they're going to fight every step of the way. And that's exactly what we're seeing. But the thing is, Trump has the people, and when you have the people and you show people, look, this is how easy it is. We remove the government job, we replace it with a private sector job, and we build America back. We drill for oil and we make fuel very, very cheap. We dig for the rare earth minerals here in this country. We actually smelt them in this country, and we become independent. And then we start weaning ourselves off of the central bank, and we give the buying power back to the people. Hey, here's a tax refund. Fuel is much cheaper. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no income tax. And eventually, people wake up and people see the truth. And every day that passes, you can see that it's getting better and better. Now, of course, the fake news, the deep state players, the Ds, everyone else is going to tell you it's bad. Because again, always in the beginning, always through a transition, they have this short window of time to convince you that the economy is a lot worse than it actually is. And remember, we're experiencing the hangover of the Biden administration, because what they've done to this economy is a disaster. They put us in a recession. Actually, we were very close to a depression, and Trump has been pulling us out of all of this and actually building a very, very powerful, strong foundation for when 2026 hits. And you could see that what Trump said in the beginning of the year, that fuel prices are going to be coming way, way down by the end of the year. Well, look what the fuel prices are right now. Has anyone seen the inflation that the deep state, the D's, the central bank, the fake news have been telling us that we're going to see? No. People have not seen this. The inflation that you're experiencing is from the Biden administration and every other person that's been president. Because remember, inflation is cumulative. Now, can Trump just remove the inflation? No, you cannot. Think about it. Even if he brings it down to zero, do we go back to 1971 prices? No, think to yourself, why don't we go back to 1971 prices? Because again, inflation is cumulative. So just like if you're gaining weight, if you gain 100 pounds and you put on 0 pounds, you still have the 100 pounds. So how do you get rid of the 100 pounds? You got to go on a diet. You got to go on a calorie deficit. You got to work out. Well, in this country, if you want to remove the inflation, what do you got to do? You got to do the reverse of what caused the inflation. What caused the inflation? Oh, that's right. Putting the currency into circulation, which means the central bank prints, the deep state players in Congress borrow that money, send it off to who knows where, ends up in circulation, and it dilutes the currency. So if you're going to remove inflation, what do you got to do? You got to reverse that. You got to give that money back to the original source. What is the original source? The Federal Reserve. It removes the currency from circulation, which means you slowly get your buying power back. And I do believe this is exactly what Trump is going to do in the end. And when the time is absolutely right, and you don't do it beforehand, because once again, if we're going to go back to the Constitution, which I do believe we're going to be going back to, and yes, the deep state, the central bankers, they're all going to try to stop it. Now, as we wrap up 2025, it's a good time to slow down and reflect on the year. If there's one thing we've all learned is that uncertainty isn't temporary. It's the world we live in now. Waiting for things to go back to normal isn't a plan, it's a gamble. For over a decade, my friends at Noble Gold Investments have helped Americans protect themselves and the people they love by diversifying their wealth with gold and silver. Look, no one knows what 2026 will bring, but one thing's for sure. In an uncertain world, real wealth isn't digital. It's physical, it's lasting, and it's yours. So when you're sitting around the table this holiday season, surrounded by family, remember the best gift you can give isn't under the tree, it's peace of mind. And that's what Noble Gold delivers. Peace of mind, 1 ounce at a time. Before the year ends, take one smart step toward a safer future. Visit X22Gold.com and get your free wealth protection kit today. That's X22Gold.com. Don't leave your future to chance, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. What do? You wait until the gold price reaches a point where you say, okay, now we can do it. Hey, let's take a look, and I wonder how much gold we have. When the time is right, Trump will be doing this. He knows that the deep state, the central bankers, use gold to manipulate the entire system. Same thing with silver. And I do believe that gold to silver ratio is going to really close, and you're going to see silver really start to skyrocket. But we'll have to see how that all plays out. But you can see that Trump now is putting everything into place. And you could see the fuel prices are going down across the country, except in certain areas. And of course, what are those areas? Well, anything that has to do with California. And U.S. Oil and Gas Association put this out and said, California supplies 33% of Arizona gasoline market. California supplies 88% of Nevada's gasoline market, 100% for Reno. Refinery closures in California will further reduce capacity by 20%. Arizona and Nevada drivers are living in Newsom's California, whether they like it or not. So, yeah, you're starting to see that. And you're going to see the rest of the country, fuel prices are going to come way, way down. Right now, they're under $3. I do believe when all's said and done in 2026, probably in the summer, you're going to see fuel prices come very, very close to $1. In some places already, it's $1.82, $1.83. So I do believe this is going to come way, way down, which is going to put a lot of buying power back into the people's pockets. And this is exactly what Trump is doing. He's reversing everything that the deep state players are doing. And wait until you see what happens when we start to drill in this country. You're going to see the oil prices go way, way down. Actually, you're already starting to see this. The Kobesi letter on X put this out and said U.S. oil prices fall to $55 a barrel, now at their lowest level since February of 2021. President Trump continues to call for gas prices to fall to $2 a gallon. And I do believe it's going to go way below this. And it's going to be pretty darn good. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is you could see the deep state players, what they have done is they always make it very, very difficult for the small businesses. Actually, the deep state players, the central bankers, they never wanted the small businesses. They never wanted the small banks. They want to basically centralize everything, and they want the big corporations, the big banks, to control everything. Why is that? Because it's much easier to control the nation when you have control over a few entities. Instead of having thousands of entities, you just have a few, and it's much easier to control. And what you're seeing right now is Trump is removing all these different regulations and making it a lot easier for small businesses. But again, we still have what Biden did going back in time. Kelly Loeffler put this out and said the Biden administration created $6 trillion worth of new regulations that drove up costs for small businesses and in turn drove 40-year high inflation that crushed customers. Today, SBA is launching a new deregulation strike force to eliminate that red tape. Absolutely. Peter Sayong, PhD, responded to all of this and said, the solution to AI wiping out jobs is get rid of every ounce of red tape in small business. Starting a business or employing a person should be as easy as buying something on Amazon. And he's absolutely right. But you could see, even going back to COVID, what did they do? They shut down every single small business, but they allowed the big stores to stay open. And does that make any sense? You're in a store where more people are, and wouldn't that spread the virus? Remember, masks don't work. The 6 feet apart is ridiculous. So what they did really wasn't there to help us. It was actually to hurt us and really hurt small businesses. Just like they move manufacturers and the jobs out of this country. They're not here to help us. They're here to destroy this entire country and the system. That's what they've been doing for a very long time. And they hate what Trump is doing because he was reversing everything that they did. And what's very interesting is that the U.S. economy has added 64,000 jobs in November, above expectations of 50,000. The unemployment rate rose to 4.6%, above expectations of 4.5%. Unemployment in the U.S. is now at the highest level since September 2021. The labor market is still weakening. Or is it? Because layoffs, when we talked about this the other day, it doesn't really affect the job openings that are opening. Now, think about why the unemployment rate is going up. You have to remember, this is part of their illusion. All those people that were on the sidelines, not currently looking for a job, they are not counted in the unemployment calculation. When they start to look at a job, when jobs open up, all of a sudden, they're included in the unemployment calculation. So you can have, let's say, 1 million people who've been on the sidelines saying, it's not even worth it. There's no jobs out there. Oh, wait, now there's a lot of job openings. Now I'm going to apply for these jobs. Well, that all of a sudden pushes the unemployment rate up. So you're going to see the unemployment rate continually move up and up and up as more job openings happen. So when Trump says, I have all this investment, I have the manufacturers coming back to this country, what are you going to see? You're going to see the unemployment rate go up because, again, all those people that are sitting on the sideline looking for a job, they're now going to be taking their resume or they're going to be applying to that job, and you're going to see the unemployment rate go up. Now, you think Trump and the Patriots, you think they don't know this? Of course. They're using this against the Federal Reserve to do what? To lower the rate. So think about this for a second and think about, is the labor market actually weakening or is it getting stronger? Because again, what does the central bank do? They've taken these calculations and they manipulated them to make their system work. Now, when you're doing everything in reverse, what do you see? You see the true nature of what they have done. And you can see that every day that passes, Trump now is deporting the illegals. And since he's deporting the illegals, it's opening up jobs for Americans. So what Americans do? Well, they apply for the job. And this means they're now counted being unemployed. Because before, when they were sitting on the sideline and they didn't go ahead and they didn't apply for the job, they weren't counted. This is how they manipulate everything. E.J. Antonio put this out and said, number of native-born Americans with jobs is up 2.6 million over the last 12 months, while the number of foreign-born workers employed saw a slight decline. All of the net job growth this year has gone to Americans. Starting to make sense now? And we could see that as of right now, since millions and millions of illegals have been deported or left on their own, self-deported, and you could see that Americans are taking those jobs, Trump now is also removing those individuals in government. Because again, if we're going to use the tariff system to fund everything, can we be paying all these people? Remember, the central bank, what they did was they bloated the government, created all these different agencies, of course, along with the deep state players, and they created a system, number one, to make you think that everyone's getting a job. Number two, to make the system so bloated that it's very, very difficult to actually dismantle their entire system. But Trump and the Patriots, they're doing it. Peter Sayong put this out and said, we deported 1 million jobs worth of migrant along with 300,000 federal layoffs. Given that, flat job number is a miracle. And that is absolutely true. If you really look at this, you could see that now Trump is starting at a point where he got rid of all the fake numbers, and now he's going to be building upon the actual private jobs. And before, we had something like over 3 million federal jobs, and he has removed approximately 271, which they rounded off to 300,000. So now we're at 2.75 million. We have a lot more to go. See, this is just the beginning. Plus, when you look at this, you can see government payrolls have come down dramatically. So this is going to allow Trump and the Patriots to do what? To fund the entire system via tariffs. Are we there yet? No, but we are on our way. And I do believe this is going to accelerate as we move into 2026. And it's really going to pick up speed in 2027 and 2028. Because once again, you can see that Trump, he's preparing the entire economic system. And as this is happening, what is Trump going to do? Well, as his system, the parallel economic system, gets stronger and stronger and stronger, because you have to remember, now all of a sudden there's a gold card. All of a sudden we're going to be drilling for oil. We're going to be selling the oil across the globe. All of a sudden we're going to be creating AI technology, chips and other things, ships, you name it. We're going to be selling that across the globe. All of a sudden you're going to see a lot of income come into this country. External income coming into this country, which means his system is going to be building and building and building and building, becoming stronger and stronger and stronger before it then overshadows the central bank system. And as the system gets stronger and stronger, he's going to start to wean us off the central bank. We won't have to borrow from the central bank, which means we won't be putting any currency into circulation, increasing inflation. Because you have to remember, inflation is cumulative, but when you add 1%, 2%, it adds the inflation to that cumulative number. So all of a sudden, if we're not borrowing anymore and he starts to pay it all back, what happens? All of a sudden, inflation probably will go negative. And people will start to say, wow, I have a lot more buying power than I did before. Energy is very low. I have no taxes. And now the debt's being paid off. And this is feeling pretty darn good. And this is just going to be the beginning stages because, again, Trump is setting it up to bring us back to the Constitution, back to the gold standard. And I do believe when the time is right, he is going to spring it on the central bank system, the entire country. And we have to remember gold right now is valued at $42 an ounce. It's already over $4,300. So where do you think Trump is going to call it? When do you think Trump is going to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we should look at the gold right now because gold is at 8,000, 9,000, 10,000. Because I do believe it's going to get that high eventually because people are going to start to take notice of what's happening in the economy. And he will drop some talking points, letting everyone know the direction that we're heading in. And this is why he's calling it the golden age. Because number one, we're weaning ourselves off the central bank. We're not borrowing currency anymore. We go back to the gold standard. And all of a sudden, everyone has this incredible buying power in the economy, which actually pushes the economy to levels that people have never seen before. And this is all going to begin in the beginning of 2026 because Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, he revealed some bad news for the Democrats. Eric Doherty put this out. Americans will likely be getting $1,000 to $2,000 in tax refunds early 2026 before the midterms. $100 billion to $150 billion refunds in the first quarter go directly to Americans' pockets. Our estimate is $1,000, $2,000 per household, depending on the number of workers. The economy is going to start lifting off in the first quarter and second quarter. Absolutely. And you have to remember, this is all being put into place to do what? To take control, to move to the next phase. What's the next phase? We need to get rid of certain amendments. We need to get rid of certain laws. We need to restructure the Federal Reserve into the Treasury. We need to go back to the Constitution. We need to go back to sound money. And I do believe this is all going to happen. Will Bitcoin be involved in this? Will cryptocurrency? Absolutely. Because again, this is how you compete and this is how you go up against the central bank system. And this is exactly what Trump is doing. He's reversing everything that they did. And yes, the numbers are going to look odd, but you have to look deeper. You have to look how they manipulated the numbers. And once you do that, you start to understand that these numbers don't really reflect what's really going on. The numbers were created to keep you in the illusion. Trump is breaking that illusion. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.